freedom of speech must stand together, because if you read the speech, it is fascism. If you hold them people up like this for freedom of speech.
Okay.
And then
you made your point.
Because just remember one thing, Rajdeep.
You made your point.
WhatsApp is sent in the morning. WhatsApp is sent in the morning, calling people to Patiala House to teach these JNU students a lesson. A WhatsApp is sent. The people are called to Patiala House clearly to disrupt. Now this is a rule of law country.
I have several more voices to go to.
Used by JNU students.
I have several more voices.
Dr. Singhvi, doesn't mean I can stop their right to free speech.
Dr. Singhvi, you made your point. You made your point. Let Nalin Kohli quickly respond, and then I want to go to Soli Sorabji. Quick response.
Very quick. One is, besides Bharat ki barbadi tak jang rahegi, I find it fascinating that Afzal hum sharminda hai, tere qatil zinda hai. Which of course, along with the jung, I don't know how does Dr. Singhvi pass it as so light. It's against the whole due process of law, because he was finally convicted by the Supreme Court. And I'm sure Dr. Singhvi would share equally strong sentiments when at that time his party's ministers were against black flags that were waved against Rahul Gandhi, Jitin Prasad and I think RPN Singh, and actually gone and physically assaulted, hit and kicked and all that. That's also on video. So I hope it's not a selective outrage. It's against any form of violence by anyone, and action against all.
Sir, I want to make it very clear. As I come back to the key issue at the moment, I come back to the key issue that I want to discuss today. Any form of violence, let's be clear. Slogans are one thing, violence is unacceptable. If the students of JNU incited violence, then they should be punished according to law. But if the lawyers in the court of the Patiala House Court resorted to that and targeted journalists, they must be also. Just a minute, Nalinji. Anusha, before I come to Soli Sorabji, I want to understand this. Were they lawyers? You cover the courts every day. Were the people who are responsible for what happened in the Patiala House lawyers or not? Have you ever seen them? Were they lawyers?
Well, Rajdeep, there was certainly a crowd of over 200 people which had gathered outside. There were some familiar faces which we knew, and there were also many new faces which we did not know.
And were they the ones who were responsible? These new faces were the ones who were attacking you all?
Yes, very broadly speaking, most of the people who we saw, who were indulging in this violence, who we saw beating up journalists in front of us, were new faces. They were not
new faces. Soli Sorabji, what are we to understand? The courtroom, a temple of justice and democracy, and there journalists are beaten up like this. Surely something is wrong, sir, with your legal community. Are these political activists masquerading as lawyers? Is that the fear, Mr. Sorabji?
Rajiv, the main thing is they are not lawyers. They are lawbreakers. They are gundas. They are pastors' lawyers. I mean, it's absolutely reprehensible. It's shameful. And I think, apart from police inquiry investigation, I think the Bar Council of India should step in and take strong action against these lawyers after giving them a fair hearing. It's absurd. As it is, the image of the law community, legal community is not very bright. Now, when these things happen, I mean, I just can't understand. Maybe a slogan hearing was bad, but they can't take the law in their own hands and commit violence on people, on journalists, especially lady journalists. I think we've gone completely berserk in this, and the real reason is, I think it's a misnomer to call them lawyers. But they're not lawyers at all. I repeat, they're gundas.
They're gundas. But Prashant Bhushan, is there a divide? Is there a divide even in the courtrooms today, where there may be these group of lawyers, particularly in the Patiala House Court, who perhaps represent a particular ideological view, who will come to a courtroom and shout Bharat Mata Ki Jai and then target journalists? Is there an ideological divide today even within the courts?
Yes, I mean, there are always and there are certainly some lawyers, and perhaps some people in every strata of society who have imbibed these kind of fascist views of the BJP, which are that no rational discussion of anything should be permitted. and that if people and that this kind of jingoism and this kind of shouting, etc., that these people are traitors, these people are anti-nationals, etc., thereafter no rational discussion, etc., will be permitted. If anybody raises his voice against that, they will be beaten up. This is the kind of message that a fascist organization seeks to give, and which is what the BJP is seeking to give.
But should these lawyers not be named and shamed? Mr. Prashant Bhushan, should these lawyers not be named and shamed?
Not just named and shamed. Their licenses must be immediately suspended forthwith. They should go to jail. What they have done is not merely a criminal offense of assault and battery. What they have done amounts to contempt of court and gross professional misconduct. And for the BJP and its spokespersons everywhere today, Nalin is not supporting them, but I have seen so many spokespersons as well as BJP functionaries, including this lumpen MLA that they have, this O.P. Sharma. All of them are supporting this. O.P. Sharma goes and says that if I had a gun, I would have shot him. What is this kind of culture that the BJP is breeding?
Before I go to Rahul Jalali of the Press Club, Nalin Kohli, let's just settle it. The statement made by O.P. Sharma, if I had a gun, I would have shot him. Can such a person be an MLA? Can O.P. Sharma remain an MLA of a party like this? Is this the party you want to be part of? No, don't laugh, Nalin Kohli. Please don't laugh. This is on air. I will play the recording again for you. Let me play it again. No, let me play it again. I want you to hear it. Please play O.P. Sharma and let Nalin Kohli respond. Please play the recording of what he told Rahul Kanwal. Let's hear what O.P. Sharma said. I want you to respond to
laughing at this.
If I had a gun, I would have opened fire. Won't I beat up someone who abuses one's mother? क्या मतलब हुआ ये? विधायक हैं आप गुंडों वाली बातें कर रहे हैं?
पता नहीं आपको क्या लग रहा है?
नहीं क्या लग रहा है? आप बताएं क्या लगना है?
क्या करें?
क्या करें?
बताइए।
आप बताइए।
आपको मारेगा भी, भारत माता को गाली भी देगा और फिर क्या उसकी आरती उतारी है? क्या करें?
तो हाथ पैर चलना ठीक है?
नहीं, इसमें दिक्कत क्या है जब कोई मार रहा है?
You know, is this Nalin Kohli? Tell me once and for all. Should such a person be the member of a ruling party?
No, I think we play, first of all, let's go one by one. I've said it at the beginning, that there is no place for violence, and certainly not.
He's endorsing violence.
May I finish my answer? I've got the hang of it, but you don't expect me, Mr. Sardesai, to answer in the words you would like me to answer with.
Yes.
Let me finish.
Yes.
So therefore, as I said, certainly there is no place for violence, one. Two, as I can make out from this, there's an instigation that he's speaking about, I was hurt. It's a reaction. Now, after that incident, to go out and say that we are going to pick up a gun and shoot something, obviously that's silly. That's not you're going to pick it up and say that's a great mature thing and this is how an ideal MLA should speak about. He's speaking in an emotive manner.
Emotive?
And of course it's emotive. It's not a rational manner in which you would speak. I mean, you and I think, are not going to do that.
Okay.
And the last thing to say is, when you say that your party, etc., I hope we are extending it across the spectrum.
Oh,
otherwise you'll say I'm politicizing.
Any party which takes violence into their own hands, whether it is any party which attacks an RSS worker in Kerala or attacks journalists here,
exactly, because I wanted to make that point.
Yeah, I make the point. I am happy to make the point. But Rahul Jalali, president of the Press Club, today in a unique display of solidarity, more than 800 journalists marched the streets, signed this memorandum, took it to the Supreme Court. At the same time, there will be those who will say, why now? Why can't the press come together? Why is it only on this issue? Was this protest against Mr. Narendra Modi's government? Against the government? Is this about anti-Modiism or is this about attacks on journalists?
No. It's got nothing to do with Mr. Narendra Modi. No, it's not an anti-Modi move. This entire move was against the attack on journalists. And look at it. I think I need to congratulate all journalists who had come there, because every opinion was reflected here. You had the NUJ, you had the DUJ, you had Press Club, you had the Women's Press Club. You were there. You know, these many journalists I've seen after the press bill was passed and a journalist demonstration took place, where BJP was a part of it. I think even their opinion was reflected, as Nalin Kohli is saying, in this march. So we have displayed a unity, which is something which the lawyers, you were just talking about the lawyers, should learn from us.
So this is how...
So
it's not anti-government?
Of course not. I mean, we are making a substantive issue that journalists have been beaten up. We want justice. Because let me also make it clear that when journalists get beaten up, it is a questioning the very basis of our constitution. It's an attack. It's an attack which takes place in the court. It's an attack which takes place on innocent young journalists who are there just to cover. They do not have any political affiliations. So what are you attacking? You're basically attacking freedom of speech also. And that is what we journalists, the fourth estate of the democracy, guarantees to our country. We are all nationalists. We all are. I mean, we are not anti-nationals. All of you, me, we have struggled. We want this nation's integrity and unity to remain. None of us go against it. So I think this should be seriously considered. Action should be taken. I welcome Nalin Kohli joining us. And I want everyone, the country, to join us. And let me also inform you that I've just got phone calls from the press club in Bombay, from press club in Chandigarh. I'm getting phone calls from other press clubs who are all going to stage demonstration, not against any political party or any political opinion, but just on the substantive question of beating journalists and on the question of freedom of press. Because remember, journalists are under attack not only in Delhi. It's not a question of only BJP. You remember we had that huge session where a journalist was killed in Uttar Pradesh? So this is a phenomena which is a countrywide phenomena. So let's not single out a political party. I think we need to build a movement right through the country which guarantees journalists their freedom of expression.
That is the worry here, Abhishek Manu Singhvi, that what is at stake now. You will say this is about the RSS and this is about the ideology and fascism, and those are the words that you will use. The worry, of course, is that this is not the first time journalists have been singled out. It has also happened in the past in Congress-ruled states. In Maharashtra, when your government was in power, the Shiv Sena would routinely target journalists and would often get away with it. My point is the Congress party now going to shoot off the backs of journalists, innocent journalists like Anusha who are reporting, and then target the BJP? Or are you willing to make the wider principled point that this is simply about freedom of press in a democracy? This is about democratic ideals. This is not Congress versus BJP. Do you accept that, Dr. Singhvi?
Rajdeep, after that long comment, please listen to me for a minute. There are two distinct facets. It starts from fascist intolerance, starting from what happened at JNU, continuing on to Kanhaiya Kumar's trial and remand in the Patiala court. That is one part. And I squarely blame the BJP, the RSS, the ABVP, etc., which is clearly reflected in the speech. I don't know why nobody is reading the speech. Number two aspect is that continuing from there with a morning SMS saying, please all of you come to Patiala House to teach anti-nationals a lesson, you then degenerate into...
do you have a... 1 minute.
Now,
do you have proof of that? Do you have a proof of that WhatsApp message?
These are fake lawyers.
Dr. Singhvi,
these are fake lawyers.
do you have proof?
Let me complete, Rajdeep, let me complete. It is precisely this deniability which is wreaking havoc. Of course, your correspondent gave proof just now. Of course, it is there. WhatsApp message is there. Your journalists confirmed that 90% were new faces, and thereafter happened the indiscriminate beating of journalists.
Now, she has not spoken about WhatsApp message.
This country, this part is not BJP Congress. But the fact remains, 1 second, Rajdeep, the fact remains that the people who are doing the beating up belonged to a particular affiliate of a particular political party. They claim to be part of the cell or supporters. Now, I'm not going to go and check the membership card which you are carrying when you are beating me up. That's not the point. The point is that a particular philosophy, a particular thinking, and I don't mean that every BJP person has that thinking. This is fascism at its worst. It then degenerates into attack on freedom of speech. It degenerates into attack on journalists. For God's sake, don't bring the Congress into it.
I'm not.
It doesn't matter whether I'm a Congressman or a leftist or a communist or a Naxalite.
1 minute.
This is sheer beating of people in the court premises. It is a criminal offence. It is free speech. It is contempt of court. And it deserves the strongest action. And I have not seen any condemnation worth the name from senior BJP persons till now.
Just a minute.
They are the ruling party. They are the ruling government. Tell me, which round condemnation have you seen?
Let Let me just ask two questions. First to you, Anusha. Did you see any WhatsApp app message? Have any journalists seen a WhatsApp message asking lawyers to gather at Patiala House Court and teach journalists a lesson?
Rajdeep, as far as I am concerned, I did not get any message like that, neither have I seen. But I can confirm some hearsay which was going around in the circles at the court within the journalists. The journalists have been talking about that since Friday, there has been a message which was being circulated saying that come to the Patiala House Court to teach anti-nationals a lesson.
But you have not seen it.
I have not.
But this is what you were told, come to Patiala House Court to teach anti-nationals a lesson. Soli Sorabji, before I come to you, Nalin Kohli, this is getting worse for you. O.P. Sharma is a close aide of Arun Jaitley, the Information and Broadcasting Minister of the country. Mr. Jaitley was in the courts when this incident happened. I haven't heard a stinging response from Mr. Jaitley to what O.P. Sharma had to say or what happened to the journalists outside. Mr. Arun Jaitley is known to be a defender of freedom of press, someone who fought the emergency. I would expect a little more from Arun Jaitley. Would you agree?
No, we are all. By the way, even I was in the courts. Mr. Sharma was also in the courts. We were all there in the court. We were not here. We were there for that defamation case.
So why can't I see a stronger statement from someone like Arun Jaitley?
Well, perhaps, how do you know? You're just presuming that there is going to be no statement. That's one part.
It's 24 hours. Maybe it's 24 hours.
But I've said it on part of the party.
BJP leaders tweet at the slightest moment. BJP leaders who tweet at the slightest moment are silent at the moment. What is this, Mr. Kohli? 24 hours. He's the INB minister. He was in the court when this happened.
Now you finished, Mr. Sardesai.
Yes, I am, and I told you I'm angry, sir. Sorry to appear a little different to my normal calm self.
It's okay, Mr. Sardesai. I don't take it personally either. We are all entitled to feel emotional.
Yes.
I mean, each one of us are human beings first.
Yes.
And I said it at the beginning. I'm not going to stand for any manhandling of another fellow human being, and certainly not of a lady. Certainly not. Anyway, coming to the point I wanted to make is that I think that's being a little tad unfair to Mr. Jaitley. Yesterday he was involved with his case matters.
Sir.
So maybe he didn't do it. Maybe he will. I don't know. And he would. But
well,
as a spokesperson, I've said it. Fair enough. It's a legitimate expectation. I don't say that's
I have an expectation that Mr. Jaitley will take this up. But Soli Sorabji...
Okay, but I have another point to make quickly.
Yes.
Because Mr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi went in terms of the whole thing and spoke about fascism in great detail.
Yes.
I'm sure Mr. Singhvi will today make it unequivocally clear that he strongly condemns historically the emergency and what happened to many journalists, and he holds that also as a clear example of state-organized fascism. I hope we are all on the same
Dr. Singhvi, before I come to Soli Sorabji for a final word, do you agree? 30 seconds, that you today also, the Congress's problem is your history prevents you from taking the moral high ground on occasions like this.
Rajdeep.
Quick response, quick.
First of all, no. Let me tell you, Rajdeep.
Yes.
Rajdeep. First of all, what relevance does today's thing have to go back to the emergency? Second, we paid for the emergency with huge upheaval, with loss of government, with Mrs. Indira Gandhi suffering. We did all those deeds, and that's 30, 40, 50 years ago. Mr. Nalin Kohli raises it in today's context and says that beating up journalists on court premises is justified because
I didn't justify.
He didn't
not
do
by
that.
individuals
He
particularly,
didn't
but because of a state machinery.
be fair to
I don't see the connection.
He didn't justify. He says the Congress can't take the moral high ground, but Soli Sorabji, you can take the moral high ground.
What is the relevance of this today?
Okay, Soli Sorabji, you can... No, 1 minute, Dr. Singhvi. Soli Sorabji, you can take the moral high ground. So I want to ask you, what is the lesson here, sir? As one of the senior members of the jurist community today, is it a moment of shame for someone like you to see what is happening around you, sir?
I said so, Rajdeep. I really hang my head in shame that so-called lawyers, as I said, this is a misnomer to call them lawyers, that they behave in this manner, indulge in violence. But you know, Rajdeep, the fact of the matter is, the tribe of journalists is not really liked by politicians and political leaders because they don't like criticism. They don't like to be exposed. They don't like the misdemeanors to be brought out in the public, and that's what the journalist done. So I think there is a inherent, latent dislike of the journalists by politicians to whichever party they belong.
Sir, they can be a dislike of us, sir, but we are not anti-national. To call us Deshdrohis, to beat up young girls in court who are covering a matter, to traumatize the likes of Anusha Soni is unacceptable, sir. You can dislike me as much as you want, sir. The politicians, I like to be disliked, but I am not anti-national and I don't have to give a certificate of my nationalism, sir. and most journalists also don't have to go through that in a courtroom, sir.
And Rajdeep,
yes, Rahul, you wanted to make a final point.
One last point.
Yes.
That I also want to tell, like what Soli just said, I completely agree with him. Political parties, and I'm not just talking of BJP, everyone across the sex spectrum seem to lose their cool. This is an increasing tendency when a slightest criticism comes. And I think political parties have to mature. If we need, you cannot expect only journalists to carry forward this democracy. I welcome Mr. Kohli's move and everyone else's move from the political spectre that please respect journalism and journalists. Because if we are not there, remember, you won't be there because there will be no one to report what you do. And if journalists don't exist, no one exists.
Let's leave it there.
We carry your information to people.
Let's leave it there. Stop shooting
just
the messenger.
Just one sentence with your indulgence.
Stop shooting the messenger, and I hope to see Arun Jaitley. Yes, I will give you the indulgence. Quick, 30 seconds.
No, I think what I just want to point out that it's critical that without journalism we can't have a strong democracy. And the irony is that our freedom struggle, both lawyers and journalists played a critical role. Yes. So I mean, it's you know, I think it's a sad commentary where we.
Sir, it's a sad day. Let's leave it there.
We should work together.
Let's leave it there. It is a sad day, a day of shame, as Soli Sorabji calls it. And maybe this is the ugly face of patriotism at times, or those who call them, as I call them, pseudo-patriots who believe they have a monopoly on Desh Bhakti. Don't teach young journalists like Anusha, Soni, whether they are patriots or not. They do a hard day's job like a lot of Indians out there. Let's leave it there. Today, journalists, who knows who else will be the target come tomorrow. Let's take a break. Coming up next, what happened in Kerala, where a BJP worker is brutally hacked with a sword.